there's a level of preparedness that we want to have when we go into a listing, and we know that. But one thing that we sometimes forget is that we're generally, from the listing side, not talking about the buyer side, but from the listing side, we're not always going to be the first ones in that living room. And we're not always going to be the only ones in that living room, right? So from the buyer side, really, for all intents and purposes, if we're first to the buyer, they're going to most likely use us. I mean, statistically, 7 out of 10 people go with the first real estate agent that they meet. That's statistically, that's whether listing or buyer side. However, from the listing side, you can expect to have a bit more competition. And the reason I bring that to the forefront is because we need to stand out, not necessarily with what we're going to do, but we need to stand out with always be presenting the end result. Your house is going to sell extremely quickly so we can get you to your grandsons. Your house is going to sell extremely quickly so we can get you to that beach that you're trying to get to down in Florida, right? So we're always vision casting, helping people go out of the normal day-to-day, in this case, the struggle, the burden, it's not fun moving. I haven't met the person that enjoys that process at all. So we're taking them from that state, the uncertainty state, the risk state, the am I doing this the right way state, I don't want to pack state, the is this going to financially ruin me state, whatever state they happen to find themselves in, we're vision casting them into what they hired us for, right? So what we're doing is effectively is we're raising their certainty and reducing their risk. That's the best way that I can explain it. We're raising the certainty that they have hired the correct real estate professional. They're about to hire the correct real estate professional, but they're reducing the risk of failure, the risk of the house not selling, the risk of them being underwater when they sell in the event that the numbers are pretty tight, right? We're reducing the risk that they're going to be left homeless if they can't buy a house while they're selling as well. So in addition to that, always being, vision casting, thinking towards the end goal, not necessarily going into every little element that we're going to do for them. We're going to put your house on the MLS. We're going to run some Facebook ads. We're going to do an open house. That's all awesome. That's great. That has its place. But we're more focused on the end result so we can take them out of that state and associate solutions, positivity, just results with us, right? We don't want them to associate us with running Facebook ads because that doesn't matter to them. Is this making sense? This is one key element that I wanted to get into before I introduce the second part of converting more listings. I want to make sure that we're in the same wavelength there. The second thing I want to introduce so as to increase your listing conversion is the power of your power of validation, power of their peers, aka past home sellers, which is essentially social proof. Do y'all have a testimonial videos? Do y'all share testimonial videos with your future listings, or heck, even buyers for that scenario? Do you have somebody either on video or in text or in, basically those are the only two, do you have somebody vouching for your previous success? I see a no, and it's okay if not, right? That's why we're here. I have some, I see some no's. Awesome, yes. Renzo, what's up? Great YouTube channel. You have no, awesome. Well, the reason I introduced that is because the social proof now more than ever, as the marketplace has always been busy, but it continues to get busier, is a great opportunity for you to stand out. It's a great way for people to see they're real life, they're really relatable, like, oh, this person used X, Y, and Z. Chances are if they can sell Frank's house or Betty's house, they can probably sell mine, right? And the beauty of that is you don't need to have but one. So for those of you that don't have a long listing history, that's okay, right? But if we can get somebody to vouch for us in, again, written or video format's going to be the most impactful part. But having a video testimonial is so impactful for those individuals because that humanizes you and makes you relatable with someone that's their $300,000 house, their $3 million house. that's something that I encourage you to look into creating immediately. It doesn't have to be complex. There's a software that I use, or a website that I use with our with our software company. We use Video Ask. I don't know if any of you have ever heard that, but Video Ask allows you to ask questions. You can just record the questions that you want to ask them, and you want to lead the witness. You want to provide the questions that you want to answer, and then they're going to respond to you in kind. They're going to respond to you in video. So all they have to do is they get and they see your prompt, you on screen asking them that question. For them, it's much easier to just press record. If they like it, they keep it. If not, they delete it and try it again. So they're just recording their answers, and now you have a little montage of them answering all of your questions. Has anybody used Video Ask before? Now, it doesn't have to be, no. I'm not suggesting run out there and get Video Ask. If it makes sense for you, great. What I would suggest, if you want to go down that route, get it for a month, get as many people on it as possible, and then unsubscribe. I'm not a fan of digging into agents' pockets unnecessarily. You could easily do that just organically, but Video Ask just makes it so much easier. So you could ask very much the same way. The only difference is that they're going to have to, the recipient, the person that you're asking the video testimonial from, they're going to have to be a little bit more open to video. The Video Ask aspect gamifies it a little bit more. Now, one of the pushbacks that I get whenever I share this, not only on my YouTube channel, but also with the agents that I coach one-on-one, especially as a new agent, is, well, Jaime, I don't have a listing. I've never had a listing. This is my first step at bat. And that's okay. The thing that I stress there is, one, it's fine, but two, let's get resourceful. And the easiest way to get resourceful is by you compiling a case study of, it doesn't have to be your past results. It could be your brokerage's past results of a home in the neighborhood that you know sold for X, that information on the MLS. Essentially, you're providing proof that, hey, this strategy of going to market $10,000 under asking absolutely won this property $40,000 over asking, $50,000, or not one, helped it acquire a ton of attention, a ton of offers over asking, and sell within 2 to 3 days. Now, what's important there, and because some agents, you'll be surprised, but what's important there is you do need to put that who listed it and everything else, not because it's necessary, but more out of common courtesy, at least for my take. But what you're doing is you're effectively becoming a reporter. You're not claiming that that's what you sold. That's not what you're claiming. What you're showing is evidence of knowledge, evidence of success. And that's how you're able to leverage somebody else's success for yours to build your credibility, especially if this is your first time. Does that make sense? So 2 big components that I wanted to cover today before we break open into the open forum where we bring questions, comments, concerns, anything about our listings is, one, when you're speaking and articulating your points to your homeowners, always be vision casting into the future to where the job is basically has already been done. The actual sell is becoming more of a formality. So always be vision casting, taking those homeowners out of the state that they're currently in of stress, insecurity, risk, all that fun stuff. So that's number one. Number two is bringing in some social proof into everything that you do. I'm raising my hand very, very high in this particular regard, as I am terrible at this. So there's a ton of individuals that are willing to vouch for me, but I just never have asked. I shouldn't say never. I rarely ask, right? So this is an opportunity for me to take my own medicine and be more proactive in seeking out those testimonials for whatever business we happen to be building at that time. So any questions on that before we break it open to a full discussion on challenges that we might be having in our seller or listing side of our business? See if I can find the chat.
I have a question.
Of course. What's up?
Sometimes especially if I'm not too familiar with the area, which I still want to go to the appointment, I second guess myself on the CMA. How do you battle that? Like,
If you have some time, I would reach out to listing agents that have sold in that area. If you have some time prior to the listing appointment, right? So this is an opportunity for you to start networking with peers, with real estate agents in that area. And you would be surprised how open. I know we get this reputation of we're very cutthroat. We're like me, me, me. And while I agree to a certain extent, there's some validity to that. But once you find those people that are taking listings that have a sizable book of business, you're going to be surprised and shocked how willing they're able to share information with you. They may even bring up something that they encountered in their particular transaction that you would have never thought to ask or never thought to look for. You know, is it in a floodplain? Or, well, you should be looking for that, by the way. But things that they're so rare that you're often overlooking. So my immediate reaction to that question is asking people that have been in that neighborhood to give you a little bit of intel. So whenever I do listings, especially in the areas that are getting gentrified, that are, you know, appreciating more for the land, not for the building or the structure itself. Here in Bishop Arts, if some of you are local, you know what area I'm talking about. In Dallas, I took several listings there that some of them became investor specials that they just tore down the structure and built up apartment complexes on it. So what I did in that scenario, when I was struggling to find comps and really trying to catch the market to where it just wasn't so insanely high that it would sit on the market forever, or prices so low that we gave the property away, I was asking those listing agents and also the people that purchased on the same side, hey, from the listing side, you know, asking a bit more about pricing and where I was thinking about taking the property pricing wise. But I was also reaching out to the agents that ended up representing the buyer, because they were probably representing an investor that might like to buy the property that I was about to take to market. Does that help? Anyone else? That's a very great suggestion. What else are y'all seeing out there when it comes to, if you have if you're second guessing your comps, what are y'all doing? I know a lot of you are taking a ton of listings to market. I'm looking at you, Kim, and several others on here. So I'm curious to see what y'all do.
Well, I just check for comps. And if you're not really comfortable, Mary, on the comps, like Jaime said, reach out to a local agent. You also look at pending ones, reach out to the agent and kind of ask them, hey, are you close? Yeah, you might want to ask specific questions. I'll ask them, hey, are you within $10,000 at least of your asking price? And they kind of give you a gauge, so you know at least kind of where your comps are sitting. That definitely helps out in the listing presentation. So you're going in and you're feeling more secure of the numbers that you're projecting.
Thank you, Renzo. That's a great suggestion. If the property is unique enough, what I end up doing is I just give a range and I ask them to get an appraiser. And while they pay for it up front, I credit them on the sell. That's what I've done in the past. Again, it would have to be very unique enough, because at the end of the day, I'm not the appraiser that's going to go out there and give a valuation. So the lender's going to underwrite on that. So that's something that I've done in the past. I don't do it that often, but if it is unique enough, I'm comfortable. I'm more comfortable going down that route than me giving a wild guess that I just would be over my skis and putting my seller in a worse situation than when they called. But that's rare. I mean, in the property, you have to be unique enough, right?
And I think you also want to, Mary, when you're going in and you're talking to them, after you give your whole presentation, you want to see what they think, right? So you say, is there a particular number that you had in mind? And then they'll tell you blah, blah, blah. And then like Jaime, I usually give a range because I don't know all the specs of their home or what improvements they've done. And then if they tell you a high end number, well, you know, so-and-so sold for so. It's like, well, as the comp space that I showed you, the way it works, the bank does this, blah, 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 explain them the process. You could potentially say, well, you know, we could try that number, but let's give it a time. Let's say 2 weeks. And if 2 weeks, nothing happens, then I propose that we go to this number. So that way you're not just against them, but you're also trying to figure out like, where did you get this number from? You know, you just popped it out of nowhere, or like where, just because Zillow said it. You know, if Zillow was true, my life would be so much easier, but unfortunately it's not like that. And then, you know, you don't want to be against them, but you want to kind of educate the person along the way why you're coming up with this number. And again, always give a range. Say, you know, this, it's not an exact science, but you want to show that you know what you're doing.
Does that help, Murray? Awesome. That was a very natural progression into our challenges. You're welcome. And thank you, Renzo, for providing so much value there.